What, you want me to get a cable and run it?
Instead, you want to keep. This is why our recordings take 4 hours. Because why don't we get
None of this is usable. None of this is usable.
Let's get a tin can and a rope, and I'll sit in my window, and you could sit in the neighbor's window, and we'll do the podcast that way. Hey, we lost your connection again.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, or Shat on TV Westworld Edition. My name is Roger Roeper, and this podcast is all about rewinding the 80s, 90s, and in this case, 70s movies, and reviewing whether or not they still hold up. Alongside myself is my faithful host, Dick Ebert, or Big D, and each week we typically allow our audience to select from 4 movie choices and that we then put in our race car rewinder. But in this particular case, because we are launching a new podcast called Shat on TV Westworld, we figured we'd do a cross-podcast episode where we look back at the movie Westworld and debate it as we're about to go into the fall season of HBO where Westworld will be debuting. We are excited for Westworld. The same cannot be said for this particular movie, though.
I'm not excited about reviewing this movie. I'm excited about the TV show. It starts on October 2nd, but I don't know if this movie was just awful or if it was a typical 1970s movie.
There are parts of this movie that I swear a 5-year-old borrowed his dad's camcorder and just did background shots, on the weekend, because the direction in this movie was so bad. The last 30 minutes, the act 3 of this movie, there's zero dialogue. Like, it's all just long shots of people going through a desert background and, oh, here's some Roman ruins and here's a minimalist tunnel. You know what I mean? There is, and you would think that, well, the action, the suspense during that time, you must feel something. You don't. No, it is just bad.
Well, I've read that this was the best they could do, that Crichton created such a mess that it was an extra hour of footage. They had a final gun battle scene, which didn't make sense. They had some additional exposition, which was just too long. They had a whole bank robbery scene. And as scary as it sounds, this was the best they could do.
Let me ask you this. Where does Michael Crichton rate for you as an author? Like, did you enjoy his books? Like, did you ever read any of his stuff? Where did you feel he was at?
I actually did enjoy him. I read all the Jurassic Parks, Airframe. I read this. I did like him, and I think he should have stuck to writing. As soon as he got behind the camera, it was amateurish, and I sat there with my wife, and she was like, oh my God, when is this over?
It made me respect Michael Crichton less. I feel bad. Like, I really do, because I really liked Michael Crichton. I really like his concepts. And you can see where the concept of this could be really awesome or really, really bad. And in this case, it's the latter.
This was obviously the warm-up for Jurassic Park. He was trying things out with the amusement park, with the rides going haywire. He even stole lines from Jurassic Park, like, we spare no expense. This was obviously the warm-up to his work later on.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't there like another movie where a amusement park animatronics come to life and murder? I know it's like a Simpsons episode for sure.
I'm feeling like there's clowns, like it was something from a fun house.
Yeah.
But you could see the bones. The bones of a good movie and a good premise were there.
Yeah.
I kept thinking as I was watching it, like, okay, I see what we could do with this. It's like we found a beat-up house, but it's got good bones. It's in a good neighborhood. Neighbors are nice. And I could see that the core stories there, just at that point, Crichton just could not handle.
So Westworld, for those of you who have not seen this movie, I recommend before we go any further, pause the podcast and go and watch this movie. You won't be able to fully appreciate this movie until you go and watch it.
I've just watched it and I don't fully appreciate it.
But you won't appreciate this podcast. You won't get how terrible it is. Also, If you are planning on watching HBO Westworld, pause this podcast and go watch this movie, because watching this movie will give you context for hopefully where HBO will just take this to the next level. Westworld is the story of a high-tech theme park called Delos that has 3 lands. You get to live out your experiences any way that you want. You get to live your ultimate vacation without any consequences, because the workers, as human as they may seem, are robots. Here's the trailer.
We have you on grid 5. Notify ground.
We will soon be landing at the ultimate resort, where you can live out your every fantasy. Each resort is maintained by reliable computer technology, and peopled by lifelike robot men and women. Desire ends in satisfaction, and all in a controlled environment.
Oh, I love this place. There's a lot to do here. The guns they give you are real guns? This place is really fun. It's the last day in the resort. Let's make it a Lulu. You'll have to switch.
Fellas new in town?
Baby. Okay. Losing a little tolerance. Bring me up.
They're not responding.
Should we cut the main power grid, sir? It'll kill the light.
Shut it all down. Shut it all down. Shut down. Shut down immediately.
We have no control over the robots at all.
Raw. Oh my God.
So Westworld, the movie, was released in 1973 with a budget of $1.25 million. It grossed $10 million, so it made money. It stars Yul Brynner, Richard Benjamin, kind of a low-rent Burt Reynolds, I thought. Like, he's got, like, that Burt Reynolds mustache and that dark hair, but, like, very low rent. You know who he kind of looks like? If you're watching the show Narcos now on Netflix,
He
looks like
the
Pena.
nerd. He was the geek friend.
I'm
He
just
was
saying,
not the cool narcotics cop.
No, but Richard Benjamin looks like the cool narcotics guy. He looks like Agent Pena. He's got like that weird slopey nose and that mustache.
The only similarities is they're male and they have mustaches.
He looks like Burt Reynolds if Burt Reynolds had Down syndrome. That's what I'm saying Richard Benjamin looks like. Anyway, it's him and his buddy James Brolin. Their names are Peter and John. At any point,
yes, I picked up on it right away. Because I was trying to determine which was which.
Yeah.
John is the cool guy.
John is James Brolin.
And Peter is the divorced lawyer from Chicago who obviously has issues. He's the one who needs the vacation.
Okay, so he's just coming off a life experience, and he's got to get away. So it's funny, actually, Michael Crichton, legend has it, was inspired to write this film after a trip to Disneyland, right?
Yeah, he was Pirates of the Caribbean, which I think he actually then references in Jurassic Park when Ian Malcolm says, yeah, well, in Pirates of the Caribbean, the ride doesn't eat the guests. So I think, again, let's go back. This was the warm-up for Jurassic Park.
Yeah, but don't you think Jurassic Park's more of like a zoo? I mean, it has amusement park, but it's like a zoo. It's like a big dino zoo.
No, what's the difference? It is technology creating an artificial creature or life in an environment, then goes out of control, and goes after the people. It's the same movie.
Life finds a way.
It is. So now let me go back to this. So we have options here. We can go to Westworld. We can go to the Roman world or medieval world.
Right.
Which world would you want to go?
All right. So this is my problem with these worlds. There's only 3 of them. For as futuristic as this theme park is, I don't want to go. What if I don't want to go back to Roman times or Western world times? Or what if I want to go in the future? What if I want to be transported to like this futuristic, I don't know, Star Trek-y like adventure? Shouldn't I have that option? I don't understand why I got to go in the past.
Let's go back again. You have 3 options. There is no fourth.
That's my problem. I would not spend $1,000 a night because I wouldn't want to go to any of those places. If I had to, if you drug me along, if you were the nerd Richard Benjamin in this movie and got divorced and you were like, I really want to go to Delos, I would probably have a good time in Roman world because it seems like everyone in Roman world is just banging. There's no issues in Roman world except for how naked can you be.
Yeah, your thinking is correct. Western world is dirty. There's horses. It just doesn't seem pleasant. Medieval world, again, great Game of Thrones, it seems like it would be fun. But, again, dirty. I don't know. Roman world, there's no downside. You're lounging around in a toga. Everyone seems attractive. There's lots of wine. Roman world is the place to go.
Right. Here's my problem with Roman world, though. You think that the medieval time is like Game of Thrones? It is absolutely not. It is like Romeo and Juliet. Terrible medieval world. The costumes, you can tell they spent the most money on Western wear, and then they were like, hey, do we have any extra money laying around for medieval or Roman? No? Okay. What can we get from Party City? They were terrible.
I think
you
we've been
them?
spoiled.
You
we've
like them?
No, I did not like them. It looked like live action Disney Cinderella. What we've been spoiled by Game of Thrones, where things look real. It looked terrible. It looked like medieval times. I don't know who's been there, where you get your dinner on a plate, your Pepsi, and they do their fake jousting. The outfits looked like that. It was bad news.
So we both agree Roman world, because Roman world is essentially the movie Caligula. That's what it's like in Roman world. Like, it's not like the gritty HBO show Rome, where people are getting stabbed and, you know, people are killing your slaves and stuff like that, and you got to go to battle. It's not like where you got to hang out in dirt with pigs or anything like that. It's like basically a spa the entire time. There's a lot of water and a lot of hedges. That's what I saw in Roman world. So I'm going to be there the entire time.
Well, I want to start off with the movie here, and we're going to start off with the intro commercial and then kind of the flight in.
Okay.
I thought it was clear. When you see the different genders describing the worlds, every one of the men, like Mr. Lewis, who says, I shot 6 people. Well, I think they were people. They might have been robots. I don't know. All the men want to go and kill something. All the women want to go and get laid. Yeah. They ask the women, and Janet says, ooh, she loved the Roman men. I think there's a clear divide, so we seem to be the odd ones out, that as men, we wanted to go to Roman world instead of going to kill something. Do you think it's common that all dudes want to go and just kill something?
There's aspects of the commercial that are very distinctly sexist. What about Creeper Dude that all wanted to do was rape 14-year-old girls, girl robots in the medieval times?
You're jumping ahead. We got to talk about that,
all
but
right.
when we get to it, because he builds up to being a creeper. Yeah, I think this would be a world perfect for wealthy men who want to just be perverted deviants. If you want to go and molest chambermaids, or you want to go and find yourself a squire, this would be the place to go, because otherwise you end up on Dateline with Chris Hansen and in handcuffs.
Yeah, first of all, there's only white dudes, and all they want to do is just kill. The first interviewee's name is Gardner Lewis. He wants to play Cowboys and Indians. He just came back from shooting 6 people in Western world. Which side of the fence do you think Gardner Lewis, white guy, 20, 30 pounds heavier, which side of the fence do you think he was on in Western world?
I think he was kind of excited at the idea that he'd killed people.
Yeah.
When he said they could have been robots, they could have been people, he didn't care. I think actually it might be a good thing. If you had a world like this, all of our psychopaths could go and just kill people that they wanted, come home and hopefully relax and get it out of their system. What do you think?
You are presupposing, this is the Purge argument, right? You're supposing that people, demonic psychopaths, are going to go and kill. They're like going to go regulate. They want to have. You think there's people that would kill within the rules, not just kill outside of rules? You don't think there's people who just enjoy doing shit because it's illegal?
Yeah, but there could be also, if you have 50 killers and this could solve the problem for 20, I'm all for it.
You want to regulate killing. That's what you want.
These are robots.
Okay, so you want to kill robots.
Yes, if they can feel like it's real, just like I didn't have a problem of that dude later on going after the 15-year-old chambermaid. It's a robot.
All right,
if it stops him from going after his neighbor, I'm all for it.
Let me ask you this. Did you ever see the movie Short Circuit?
Yes, Johnny Five.
Or Chappie, that delightful robot movie that came out that no one saw? All right. Did you feel for the robot?
I don't want to feel guilty here.
Seriously.
This is not Wall-E.
Are you telling me you did not? Are you telling me you did not cry at the end of Short Circuit?
Yes, but here we're talking about living fleshlights. We're talking about sex robots.
All right. So
nobody was having sex with Wall-E.
Short Circuit looks like a robot. He is a robot with human personality, but looks like a robot. You're telling me you wouldn't feel any empathy for a android person that's more advanced than Johnny Five, has a personality, and looks like a human being? Are you telling me you could just willy-nilly kill them? That's who you are?
Yes, if somebody was raping Johnny Five, I would feel bad. But that's the whole thing. These robots are not Johnny Five. They're not alive. They don't have personalities. They're all playing a single note role. I am the innkeeper at the hotel. I am the prostitute. They didn't show any individual, personalities. They were all playing a single note role. So I was okay with what was happening to them.
So you don't think that this is advanced intelligence that's learning to feel, that's learning to love, that's learning to hate? That's the whole point of this movie, is that they're beginning to feel.
So here is where I think the movie really fails. It has an opportunity to make a statement. Is it simply an error in the robots, or is this some kind of artificial intelligence that's had an awakening? Have they actually had a moment where they become aware? And we never get that. We never get anything other than robots on a killing spree. They hint that the robots become aware, but they never give us that answer. In the end, that's the biggest failing and where the movie could have been much better. Did you have any problem with the way it went down and the way they explained things?
Yeah, I would say their biggest missed opportunity, like you said, in this movie is understanding to the audience what the motivation for the killings are. What are they upset about? In, I think, other science fiction genre, we've seen where someone has an awakening, they usually punish the person back in the manner in which they were perceived to being tortured, right? So the movie could have done something with the prostitutes where they, I don't know, fuck the guy to death, or the slaves in Roman world, they revolt and kill their masters. Those are things where the movie, I guess, missed the major mark. Although I will say this. There was a little bit of enjoyment I took, simple enjoyment, in the fact that the robots were just killing robots. There was no motivation. It was just, it's a robot and it's going to kill humans. I think that was a very simple idea back in the 70s. Kind of the man, is afraid of the machines because socially at the time, machine was overtaking automation jobs in factories, and Americans were losing their jobs, so they were afraid of robots. I think that was kind of the sentiment at the time.
So you don't think this is any kind of artificial intelligence taking over? This is just a technical glitch?
It has to be a technical glitch because there's no individual personalities beyond what they were originally programmed to be. So none of them seem to have an awakening, and because they believe that they're people, that they're living in this world. The robots don't come across. They come across as nothing more than highly intelligent puppets that the people in the back are controlling their every whim.
I agree. They continue on their role. They don't have a break from it, so that makes me think that this is nothing more than some kind of a service error. So why don't we do this? Let's jump into the movie. Let's break it down. Even though we're not huge fans of it, it'll help us shape what we think HBO is going to do and what the TV show will be. We start off where we have our two main characters, John and Peter. They're on a hovercraft transport to, what is it, Delos?
Delos. Delos is the name of the park. So it's not Westworld. Westworld is just a land in Delos. So it's a futuristic kind of place to be. And I assume it's somewhere out in the desert. Like, Is this Arizona? Is this California? Is this Nevada? Is this not even the United States? I would assume it's the United States because they were all Americans that went there. Where would this be if you had to put Delos somewhere in the continental 48 states?
Well, just like Disney buying up swampland in Florida, you need some cheap land. I'm saying Arizona, Nevada. But I don't get how the hell is the desert temperature conducive to Roman world or medieval world and wearing full chainmail armor and shields?
Listen, if you want to get technical, there are different elevations in Arizona. However, in the movie, they make it seem as if the air conditioning systems are breaking down and therefore can't support that climate. But there's nothing visually that would have suggested they've implemented some sort of weather climate device. There's no dome. It's just here's a land arguably 1,000 yards away from the other land, and that's green, and this is desert, and that is lush swampland. Yeah, there's no explanation for that.
So now this hovercraft, I imagine in the 70s, they thought this would be the height of traveling technology and luxury. We see the guy at the command with his mirrored aviator glasses. And I seem to think in the 70s, they envisioned technology as a whole dashboard full of blinking white lights, random numbers spinning on like a counter, and just people blurting out, Tango 5, Bravo Delta, Sector 7, elevation, like saying things that just make no sense. But I guess in the 70s, it sounded futuristic.
Every 70s movie had a guy at a helm that was controlling a joystick, and there's just close-up shots of people at machines doing things and talking like Roger, Vector, reducing transport to -139. And I guess it's the 1970s version of heads-up display. If you watch any sci-fi action, futuristic movie these days, everything is a touchscreen hologram pop-up heads-up Iron Man display. So I guess that was the 1970s version. Blinky lights, dudes doing things at computers, and tube televisions that make it look worse than what it actually is.
So probably in 40 years, people will be laughing at us.
Yeah.
And the way Iron Man's display is. But we're again now introduced to the lay of the land, and we're watching, the entire hovercraft full of guests watch their training video about what they're in stored for. We immediately see that every man is drooling over the idea of stabbing somebody, shooting someone, and the women are just sitting there drooling over the men. So we get to see Peter, who's played by Richard Benjamin. He is the nerdy friend. I believe you called him... What name did you have for him?
He looks like Down syndrome Burt Reynolds.
Fine. So we have bargain basement Burt Reynolds, and then we have John Blaine, played by James Brolin. Now, he's been there before. To me, if I'm going to Delos again, why would I do the same world twice?
Listen, I would go to Roman world as many times as possible, but I can't imagine going back to a land where there's seemingly nothing to do other than get into bank robberies and, bang prostitutes. I don't know. I just feel like I want more out of my vacations.
I agree. How many guys can you shoot? How many horses can you ride? I'll go City Slicker style and go to a dude ranch.
Right.
But we're also introduced to Dick Van Patten, who's playing a nerdy banker. And then there's a middle-aged couple that I don't know we get their name. It's a husband and the wife. He is a creeper. And as we get on, we're going to talk about some of the stuff he does. But I think he is a blatant pedophile who's using this opportunity to get some of his sick fantasies out.
But why does he seem then visually upset when his wife perks up at the idea of the luscious fantasy that is the men of Roman world? He looks upset by this.
Because he's a typical hypocrite. Dudes can do it, but their girls can't do it. So he can't handle it. And I think it's great that he has to acknowledge that she's going to be out there banging the Black Knight.
Now, he's black. He's the Black Knight because he's wearing black. He's not actually black. He's not actually African-American.
I don't think we had any African-American guests.
That is another problem I have with this movie is there were nothing but white people in the future. And That has me worried for a Donald Trump presidency.
You don't stay with politics. But no, okay. I think in the bar fight scene, there is one random black dude.
Okay.
I don't know what he was doing there.
There's also one random Chinese guy that's the servant. He's playing the role of a servant in Miss Carey's prostitution brothel. Historically accurate, still a little racist.
Well, they were building the railroads. At least that was making sense.
Yeah, but there's no diversity in 1973 America.
Maybe they were saying that it was a little too expensive. And even that's a worse statement to make.
Yeah.
That this was a very exclusive country club type vacation.
I wish they would have made it like that, but I just think that this was Hollywood in 1973. They can't employ anyone who doesn't look like James Brolin.
So they get now into the actual welcome area. They all split off into the different worlds you're going to get. And then we get a kind of dressing montage with all of the outfits. I could not get over all the outfits. I felt like I was watching Back to the Future Part 3, where Doc Brown dresses up Marty McFly as they believed the old Western frontiersman dressed in the 1800s, but he ends up looking like a J.C. Penney cheap denim version of a cowboy today. Did you buy the outfits? Did you find them at all believable to what
Listen, I bought the outfits more than I bought the dressing montage by three dudes to the old-timey Western piano song going on in the background. It looked like I was watching Jennifer Gardner 13 going on 30, where she's dressing like an adult for the first time, and she's doing a twirl in the dressing room to her new best friend at Macy's. That's how terrible this scene is. It's the fact that we're supposed to believe three adult dudes about to get their swerve on in Western world are going to spend 3 hours doing twirls for each other to check out each other's holsters. Come on, Michael Crichton. Total hack maneuver.
Sounds like you've checked out a dude's holster
Not
before.
only that, but then their locker rooms that are happening here, and they're just, oh God, this was terrible.
By far, a limited amount of firearms, limited outfits. If this is an expensive high end, they should have had every kind of variety. You wanted to be the bad outlaw. You wanted to have a long rifle. You wanted to be part of a gang. This seemed like you had 5 options. I'm going to be the town drunk. I'm going to be the local good guy, or I'm just going to be the nerd victim for the gunslinger.
Yeah, no, listen, the best thing that I can say about the HBO version of Westworld compared to the movie is that there's no ragtime follies going on in any of the background teaser trailers that I've seen. So I'm happy it's taking a more darker, sinister feel than this scene.
Well, that makes you realize how spoiled we are by we're in this golden age of TV, that we're used to seeing Game of Thrones, and we're used to seeing the dirtier, grungier, more historically accurate. Back in the 70s, this is what it was. And as we go on, you'll see how ridiculous the outfits and the costuming were. But we now get our characters. They're in town. It's their first experience, and they get the breakdown of how Westworld works. Everyone, yes, has firearms, but they're safe because you can't shoot at anything that's warm-blooded. Do you have any problems with this? Because I do.
The problem that I have with this whole system is, why are they giving people real bullets? Why are they giving them real broadswords and real knives?
Because you're selling the dream.
You know shit's going to go.
Shit. What do you think the waiver looks like going to this place?
I don't think they thought that far ahead. I think that they thought in the near future there would be no waivers.
No, these guys have been in business for a while. This is not their first rodeo. My problem is bullets don't go exactly where you aim them.
Right.
They ricochet. They're stray bullets. How do you... This, again, it is reckless. There has to be guests who die. And how many guests would it take to die before people stop going? You look at Disney. They had one alligator bite, and as terrible and tragic as it was, people were staying away from the water. Here, if you get hit by a stray bullet, do you think people are going to cancel? They're going back.
Here's the thing about amusement parks growing up. There was no internet. So the idea of a death at an amusement park was always like an urban legend. Space Mountain always has the urban legend that one child loses his head every year, right? That used to be, ooh, did it happen? Did it not happen? Well, now in today's information age, you can tell whether or not it really truly happened or not. So I feel like
Are you not watching the news? You didn't see that water slide that kid got beheaded? That was a water slide.
Wait a minute. But that's not Disney. But I'm saying you wouldn't have known that. You wouldn't have known that. And having that type of information readily available to the public was not available until, I don't know, 2004. Because Disney and other theme parks used to just sweep that shit under the rug.
This is the future. I imagine they have Twitter. Don't you?
Do they still have Instagram? If they still have Instagram, I'm in.
Oh, that shit would be all over it.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we get a little more background story. We find out that John and Peter are friends, and it sounds like John's taken Peter out there because he's had a recent divorce. He's an attorney from Chicago, and we get a cost. It's $1,000 a day to stay here in the resort. Which,
how much is $1,000 in 19? All right. So you always have to like adjust this for inflation, right? Because what is the idea of $1,000 in 1973 compared to today's money?
Well, I'm going to take a guess that in 1973, they were envisioning this being right around where we are. I think 2016 is fair. Okay. So at that rate, it's $5,600 a day,
which is really expensive. But it's really not that expensive because there are hotel rooms that cost $5,600 a day, right?
Yeah, this is the equivalent of human hunting. So I think there's definitely people out there. You look at the dentist who was hunting that lion.
Yeah.
There are people today who would be paying this, who are out on safari, hunting some rhino that's tied up to a tree.
I think it's more expensive. I think it's more expensive to do that. I think to go out and kill Cecil the lion, I think that guy pays like $100,000 for 5 days.
Yeah, well, you saw like Everest. It's $40,000 to get hooked up with one of those adventure companies just for permits and just to try.
Right.
So this is not that outrageous, and it seems like a good deal to me if you had the money.
Yeah, but where are the people? It seems as if there's 12 guests on every ship. That's the problem. That's a problem I had with Jurassic Park, but I liked about Jurassic World. Is Jurassic World showed like a full functioning amusement park where shit goes wrong. Jurassic Park, there was only like 6 people because it was a soft opening to friends and family.
Well, here you saw 3 dudes. You had the banker, John and Peter. They tore up the whole saloon. If you had in there 15 college-age buddies, they would tear this town apart. So maybe they can't handle more than 4 or 5.
That's not a good business decision. Then you need to be charging a lot more. That's just a law of supply and demand. So James Brolin and down low Burt Reynolds, they are checking into the same room together, which, again, if I'm going on a vacation of a lifetime, no matter how much I like you, I'm not going to share a room with you.
Did the Cowboys share rooms, or were they... Would there have been rumors going around town?
It definitely had a Brokeback feel to it, which I personally am okay with. I completely supportive of that lifestyle. It just didn't seem as if that's what they were there for.
When by lifestyle, do you mean Western or?
Yes, I mean Western cowboy. That's what I mean. But like
it was probably more common back then.
Like urban cowboyish. You know what I mean? Like they're city cowboys.
Yeah, if you're out on the prairie, it's cold. I could see buddies getting close. I think it was probably more common than we would.
Well, that's just the rules of the West. That's just camping. Shoot, that's just you coming over and hanging out for a weekend.
No, that does not go down. No, maybe that's how they did camping in your neck of the woods, but that's not the kind of camping I did.
Are you telling me that you and your buddies wouldn't go out back in the tent in the backyard and do a little snuggling underneath the stars?
No, I was not in the Boy Scout.
No, I'm talking about like next week.
Do some shadow puppets on the side of the tent.
We can draw on each other's backs. We can play. We could tickle the tummies.
Was that a snake? Go
ahead.
It is the most advanced animatronic artificial intelligence on the planet, we're led to believe. They can simulate ages, gender, full range of motion. They can make decisions. They've replicated male and female sex organs, which I don't even want to get into the maintenance of those.
It's modular.
Okay.
You can remove it, put it in the dishwasher, and put it back in.
So it's like a fleshlight.
Right. But like a reusable fleshlight because environment.
So you just get some soapy water and they're back out on the street?
Well, I assume there's some sort of futuristic sanitizer that they just throw these into.
Oh, I wonder, do they come in different sizes?
I would assume so.
And do you
make that looks?
Do you make that part of your request when you're checking in?
I think there's a questionnaire that you fill out.
Okay, so you don't get frightened. I gotcha.
Yep.
But they can do all of this, but they cannot do hand.
Yeah, I didn't really get that. And the other thing is, okay, fine. You want to make that a plot point. If you want to foreshadow this, which they do a lot with just like very bad pacing, like, okay, you're going to hand the bread over and we're going to do a long, shot of your hands. They don't say exactly, they don't show what it is about the hands.
Yeah, they did. They were like wrinkly.
Were they no, I didn't.
Yeah, they had like little, it looked almost like you were wearing latex gloves.
Okay, so that's what it was. It looked to me, at least on the version that I was watching, they took no makeup effort whatsoever to make the hands look different.
No, I saw it. It definitely was. And my thought is this. If the hands look so bad, why wouldn't your Old West characters be wearing gloves?
Okay.
Let's try to hide it. Let's keep up with the atmosphere of the park.
This is their first day in Western World. So they decide they're gonna go get a bar drink from the old saloon. If you're in old timey land, what do you order at an old timey saloon?
Whiskey, not a martini, and then I don't give instructions on how to make the martini. Besides the fact that the bartender supposedly won't know how to make it, you're just killing the mood for everybody else. That's like you going to Disney and screaming, "That's not a princess. That's not a princess. Mermaids aren't real." That's a dick. You're ruining the whole thing for everybody else.
So you're telling me I'm on a vacation of a lifetime and I can't order what I want? If I want to order a lemon drop martini, I want to be able to order it. And I don't want to get grief from you, robot bartender.
No, that's why they priced you out of it. Because you're the idiot that ruins people's vacations.
What if I don't like old-timey whiskey? Is it old-timey whiskey? I bet that shit's warm.
Then don't go to Western World.
I won't. But if they don't have the modern conveniences of ice and a cooling system, I don't know how much, fun I'm going to have.
You're going to have as much fun as I'm having right now. People go there for the experience. They don't go there for you to be pampered. So immediately we see that there is a storyline in play where the workers decide that Peter, who's a bit of a puss, needs to toughen up. So they introduce us to the Yul Brynner character of the gunslinger. And the gunslinger just comes right in the bar and immediately starts busting his ball. Immediately. Tells him, he says, why don't you get your bib, boy? Do you need your mama? He starts in right away. And of course, to his perfect character, Peter initially starts to back down before John tells him, why don't you shoot him? I thought this was really not that big of an offense to just shoot someone.
Yeah, the guy's just kind of mouthing off to you. Do you have to bring out a gun right away? I mean, listen, I get it's the Old West. But the other thing is that these are supposed to be sophisticated, top-of-the-line robots, correct?
Yep.
These are supposed to look, act, and feel like real humans with the exception of their hands, right?
To the best of their ability.
Why does Yul Brynner then act like he's the old animatronic with very deliberate, moves? Is he an older model?
I thought that just made him menacing. Well, I think it was by choice.
So the actor made a choice to look like an actual robot when all the other actors portraying robots are trying to look and feel like humans.
He was a man playing a robot that was playing a man who wanted to act like a robot, but was really a man.
You just made my brain hurt.
I found him frightening. I found him the best part of the movie. He reminded me a lot of, I could see Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator from 84. The mannerisms, the way he walked, that couldn't have been a mistake. I think down the road when they soup him up and we have the big hunting montage through Delos, it was 100% Terminator. But I wouldn't want to start a fight with him. But here you're paying for it, so you might as well shoot him.
It's interesting you point out Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger has come out and said that Yul Brynner's performance was the basis that he took in the first Terminator, and I assume subsequent Terminators as well. But watching Yul Brynner, also director John Carpenter, based the indestructible nature of his killer Michael Myers in the Halloween movies on Yul Brynner's character. I will say this, Yul Brynner, his character, I guess at the time in 1973, must have seemed as if like one of the most evil characters of all time. I mean, even Darth Vader in Star Wars, when he walks in to Princess Leia's ship for the first time, and when we see him in all black, I mean, there's definitely a nod back to the Yul Brynner character. He's got the hands on the hips and the front. It's a very powerful, crazy character. And so you can definitely see where there's been movies that have been inspired by this. But I mean, listen, if I've been there before with my buddy and I know how it works, I'm going to drink as much whiskey as I can and quickly kill as many guys that I got to kill so I can go to the brothel. That's what I'm really there for.
Well, I got to ask, is there a limit to the amount of damage you can do? Because there's a dollar amount assigned to each of these robots. If you want to be a dick, could you just go in there and just start blazing, start shooting everybody?
Yeah.
Or would they come out and be like, hey, come on, buddy, you can't do that?
I assume there's some sort of package. I assume that they go up and they say, Mr. Ebert, thank you for your Westworld package. You bought our Platinum Silver Spur package. That includes 50 kills across your 5 days here. So you get 10 a day. You also get unlimited soft drink refills. You get 2 shots of whiskey, and you get to ride 3 horses between the hours of 9 and 2. I think that's what comes in the package. But then you can add on to that. It's like excursions on cruises.
I tend to agree with you, because otherwise you could just destroy the entire town. And for $5,000, you're not going to be making any money.
Yeah, there's no flat ticket pricing that's happening here. It's definitely a tiered approach.
No, not at all. So he lays out the law. He shoots him. And what does every guy want to do after you shoot your first man? Let's go get laid.
Yeah. There's some sort of carnal instinct that comes away. But as they're carting off Yul Brynner's character, his eyes do a weird thing. Was that to symbolize that the character has gone offline, or is it that his job and his task has been completed based on what the instructors behind the scenes have told him to do?
You see, I think, and my premise is not based on anything I see on screen, because they don't give us anything to go off of.
It was terrible.
It was terrible. I think, and I'm reading it, that we see a few times through the movie where the robot that's been injured or victimized almost has an awakening and looks like it's getting pissed off.
So the what they call it a disease. Is the disease the cause for the weird thing with the eyes, and that's the awakening? Or do you think it just always happened?
I think instead of resetting the machine and putting them back on stage, I think the machines are retaining a bit of what they experience each time through. And as they go through each cycle, they start to hate the humans more and more and more. And it would be great if Crichton had showed us some of that instead of making us guess it.
Right.
But we see it here in The Gunslinger. We see one of the prostitutes has it later. We see the sheriff when he gets shot, it happens. So I want to believe that's what it is, but most likely it was probably just a mistake.
Right. So they go to the brothel house. They go to Miss Carey's, and they have a couple prostitutes. Now, this is where I was like, wow, the designers of this world really, really nailed the Deadeye prostitute look. There was one that the Peter character hooks up with that definitely looked like she had been around. Like she definitely may or may not have had a drug addiction and was walking the streets of Hollywood Boulevard with her best friend Kit.
Seriously, I understand that they're robots, but what fun would it be to have, you're having sex with a robot and then the robot's just lame? Why can't you program the robots to be into it a little bit? Play it up.
Well, I think these were the only
feel like the man.
These were the only 2 prostitutes that were available at the time.
Well, still, they can't act like they like it. How do you think Peter's going to feel? He just got divorced. His wife just left him, and now he's got to bang a toaster that just lays there. Okay.
I was excited to see some robot boobs. And they kind of teased us with that. I was really disappointed. I didn't know what movie. I didn't even think they had rating systems in 1973. I think you could see a boob anytime you wanted. I wanted to see a little bit of a robot nip, see if they got that right. We got nothing. No robot boob. I was really disappointed by that.
I think they could do the nipples, but they can't do the hands.
Yeah.
And I don't think in the 70s you could show almost anything.
Oh, absolutely you could.
First boobs I remember was Excalibur or maybe Hot Dog the movie. That type of cinematic gold. But 70s? So.
There were cartoons in the 70s that showed boobs. Heavy Metal.
You more and more I realize the issues that you have So they're up there. They now have their robot prostitutes. And one of the prostitutes, as Peter finishes, gives a look that she is either acknowledging that he is just finished, and she probably like a dishwasher goes into cleaning mode, or she looks pissed, like she's been victimized. How did you take it?
I took it as if he is just terrible at sex, because He basically is doing nothing but alligator wrestling back and forth like a child's rocking horse, just going on one side of the bed to the other side of the bed and back to the other side of the bed and back to the other side of the bed. There's no indication that he has any idea of how to truly make love to a woman, let alone a woman robot, which would make it seem why she's so disappointed.
Do you think this is why he's divorced?
Oh, without a doubt. Definitely was included in the divorce settlement.
Man, so this can't make Peter feel any better. He can't even please a robot.
No. So after the disappointment, lovemaking, she pieces out and they go to sleep. Now
this is where, as they're getting busy with their Western ladies of the night, they hear a gun battle blazing outside.
Right.
And he's given the option, Peter says, hey, should we go out there and get involved in the bank robbery? Who the hell would turn down getting laid, even if it's a robot, to go out and potentially just get shot or to shoot another guy? You just shot somebody.
Yeah.
Why can't you be happy where you are?
Yeah. So this is also, in doing some research for this movie, there was a longer scene that was filmed explaining the entire bank robbery. And you get why it's weird that we're just doing cutscenes and cutscenes and cutscenes almost back to back of each other, of them in bed. That was supposed to be like, we were supposed to insert the actual bank robbery filming in those scenes. Michael Crichton just cut it because he said it was too long and too boring. I think that we were meant to believe that there was something more going on with the bank robbery, but I'm with you. I'd much rather just spend all my time in Miss Carey's than shoot up the old Wells Fargo.
Yeah, I don't think the bank robbery would be that exciting.
No.
And you definitely don't want to go out and watch it.
Are you telling me I'm about to bang a robot woman? Yes, please.
Do you think there is a curfew in town for guests?
There has to be, because there's no other way that they can depict the cleanup crew, like the third shift that comes out. Listen, if I'm staying at Disney World or I'm staying in the park, I guess I kind of expect that. But if I go to Las Vegas, I want it to be 24 hours, 7 days a week, baby, especially in Western time, right?
You're supposed to live the Wild West lifetime, their lifestyle. I don't think that involved going to bed at 9 o'clock so the cleanup crew can come out. Why couldn't they just dress their maintenance workers as town folk and act like they're coming out to pick up the dead? Why did they have to roll them out in a Jeep and halogen lights and completely kill the mood of the town?
Not only that, but you can program robots to play the town mortician that is building caskets on the side.
I like it. There should be town folk, because town folk in the real Old West would have policed them up. They would have thrown them, bring out your dead. They would have put them on a wagon and they would have wheeled them off.
Right.
But instead, like at Disney, you don't want to see Mickey walking around Magic Kingdom with his head off, smoking a cigarette while he's on a break.
Well, most of the Mickey Mouses are female because they're short.
That is such stereotype.
Spoiler alert. So we're also introduced to the head doctor character. Now, the head doctor seems to be also on the board of the it's like a theme park board of Delos. We only get to see from the scientist and the creator's perspective. We never see anyone in operations or anyone that has really full control over the entire park.
I think they have a good idea at this point that something's going on, because they talk about it. They talk about that this is not the first case of the town folk acting strange. And they liken it to a virus or to some kind of a disease that's spreading. If I ran an amusement park, or if I ran a zoo, which this is the equivalent of it, and the animals started acting up, acting strange, and I thought there was a virus, I'm closing that shit down.
It seems almost as simple as them just clearing the cache in the memory units of their robots. That's what it seems as if is happening. It doesn't seem like it's a hardware problem. It seems as if it's a software algorithm that someone, forgot to carry the one on, because that's what's happening with these robots. But they just keep, not only do they not try and unplug and replug in their routers, but then they're enhancing. They're enhancing the robots. They're like, well, while it's in, let me give it infrared vision and better hearing.
It doesn't sound like there's any manual.
No.
I don't want my amusement park. This is like the carnies who go out there and slap some duct tape onto the shoulder restraint that leads to a kid getting killed. It seems like this is an accident waiting to happen. So I'm starting to think this is less high-end vacation and more shoddy kind of middle of the road.
So you think that there's actually other amusement parks like Delos, and this just happens to be the fun world or fun spot of animatronic robots?
I think there might be Coupon Day. There might be some kind of a Groupon, but this does not seem like the high end, because I can't imagine that any true, wealthy, well-to-do, why would you pick one of these three worlds? If this was the high end, there would be 10 options. People hate camping, and they're going to go out here and pay $5,000 a day to go camping and sleep with a horse.
Don't knock it till you tried it.
No, I will not try.
Yeah,
it,
I think the problem is actually all these workers did go to ITT Tech.
Show them some pity. Okay,
that's right.
A moment of silence for ITT Tech.
I'm pouring one out now.
Well, there's always DeVry.
There is. You know the admission test for DeVry, right?
What is it?
Opening the front door.
Wow. You're just making friends. I love it. I love it. So we now see that they've enhanced the gunslinger, and gunslinger's back on the scene. Peter and John think that they've ended it. There is the gunslinger one more time.
So Peter's in the bathtub. He's singing a dumb Western song, and Darth Gunslinger Yul Brynner has now gone to the room, I assume to kill Peter, but finds Josh Brolin in the room instead.
Yeah, and this would scare me. This shows that this character remembers what happened, and he's coming back for vengeance. He's got that crazy look. This should be a warning sign that something's going on.
Right. Again, Josh Brolin's been there a couple times before. It seems as if when they reset the robots, are they just out walking around until they get instructions from the people?
Yeah, I think they probably just go in a loop. They do their daily chores.
Okay, so Yul Brynner's not supposed to be out hunting them back down again.
No, he's probably just supposed to be walking around town looking like a badass.
Okay, got it. But he's gone off script. I think that the movie is supposed to be the robots come aware that they are not what they have been led to believe as their personalities. That's what I believe should have been portrayed in this movie. Instead, it just seems as if Yul Brynner is just a killer robot that just wants to kill humans.
No, I think each time he wakes up, he's hating his master more and more and more. And there's nothing worse than getting shot, but getting shot by a pussy lawyer who can't even satisfy a robot. I think he goes up there and he's clearly looking for him.
Okay, so you think he's become Agent Smith in The Matrix? He's upset at his lot in life, and he's gonna show Neo what he means.
We see it. He continues to go after him. What else could the reason be?
So he unplugs from The Matrix, is what you're saying.
He seems to go off script.
Got it. Okay. I just don't understand why they haven't said you're not seeing more people in the background worried at this point. I'll chalk it up to Michael Crichton being a hack, or it could be just that this was left on the cutting room floor, because they really cut this movie.
Maybe nobody thought of it.
Yeah.
But we get the 70 typical slow motion action, getting shot and falling out the window into the middle of the street. And unlike the previous time where Peter decided to shoot him, this time the sheriff is coming to knock. I don't know how deep they're going to go into these, role playing. But if I pay $5,000 a day, you sure as hell are not locking me in that cell for 4 days.
There's no way you're keeping me in a jail cell, unless it's a jail cell at Roman World where I've got, 3 lovely Roman bath ladies.
And do they have a safe word?
I think it's banana.
Pumpernickel.
I think it's rye bread.
Yeah, because there's got to be a safe word that if you had enough.
We just really went Jewish deli there.
If you are in there, you should have a safe word that kind of, gets the doors open, you're back out there. If you're on vacation and they decide to force you to go parasailing and you don't want to go parasailing, that's not gonna fly.
No, yeah. So
Peter's locked in there. Now, we've already seen that Peter has no idea how to fire a gun. Why don't we give him some explosives? Why don't we help him blow himself up?
No, I think you're wrong here. Because it seems as if Josh Brolin's character has seen this before. I think all of this was pre-programmed. He was pre-programmed, or there's some sort of setting in the robotic system that if you kill someone, occasionally you might get arrested and you might go to the single cell jailhouse. Essentially, there's a show on the hour between the hours of 11:30 and 4:30, where the jail just explodes. There's no real danger
you think
here.
It's a prop wall.
It's a prop wall.
You think it's like the Kool-Aid man is going to come jumping through.
It's like the Wild Wild West show at Universal Studios, Florida, that you have stunt people that, break down the wall and it falls on the stunt person, but they survive because it goes through the window. It's all a stage. It's all an act, man. This isn't real dynamite.
I disagree. But they break out, and now all of a sudden, part of their role play, they're going to be desperados.
That's right. So no one's chasing them, though. No one's chasing these guys. Why are they desperados?
And how is that fun? You were just in town chilling. You had your room. You were drinking. There were female companionship. And now instead, you want to go sit in the dirt and hide with your buddy on the side of the mesa.
Yeah. The first thing I would do after I broke out of fake jail at fake Western World in Delos on my vacation of a lifetime is I'd go bang another Western World hooker. That's what I would do.
I think that's reasonable. I'm not going to go sit next to you. Yeah, and can we talk about what a dick move? What did the sheriff do? Why would you decide now to start just killing innocent people and those who are trying to keep law and order? They shoot the sheriff.
Yeah, they shoot the sheriff and nerd guy that we were introduced on the hover. I feel like we didn't get enough of nerd guy that becomes the sheriff.
Well, Dick Van Patten, he tries his best, and immediately somebody in town calls him out and questions whether he'd be able to do it, and he says, "Do you want to test me?" And then he immediately retreats into the sheriff's station.
Yeah, he was a one-note character. I feel like they had a bigger story for him that got left on the cutting room floor.
So we get another giant bar scene where there's some fighting, and again, seems very dangerous. There's people punching each other in the face, throwing chairs. I don't see any safety measures in place to where the chair can't hit you if you're warm-blooded. Seems rife with danger, but it all goes down correct.
No. And that bar scene came after Josh Brolin gets bitten by a mechanical rattlesnake, and the technicians are worried. Are you telling me that the next scene, after they give a whole monologue about guest safety and how it's paramount to the success of this operation, then they're going to allow their guests to get punched in the face by a robot? Come on, man. Come on.
Are snakes really relevant to your enjoyment of the Old West? It seems like that's a bit of an overkill.
Yeah, I don't think that I would save some money. I think there'd be a couple bean counters that'd be like, listen, we understand you want these highly advanced robots, but listen, we can't do I'll give you the animatronic
Snakes.
horse, but snakes, we're going to draw the line there.
Are there robot vultures?
Yeah, they're robot rats. Come on.
Robot fish? Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, I think this is, it could be a John Hammond, no expense spared situation.
We already heard that, so he stole that line before. Why not say it again? So this is our first now view into Medieval World. So what were your thoughts on Medieval World? Looked very much like Winterfell and King's Landing, didn't you think?
It looked like if Winterfell and King's Landing was put on by a community production of a 7-year-old's child, of a 7-year-old's kindergarten play. Like it was, these were terrible.
Medieval times looks more period authentic than this.
Monty Python and the Search for the Holy Grail looks more authentic historically than what they portrayed here.
Like, did someone get paid as a costume designer? And if I'm paying $5,000 a day, I better get better costumes, a better castle, and more realistic environment. Because that, to me, it looked like, you said, like a cheap production of a local playhouse.
Yeah, I'm not going to go to Medieval World either because it's like the 1300s. It's not even the Renaissance. It's not even like a fun medieval period where there's areas of enlightenment. It's where everyone, come on, like religion has taken over the world. People are burning at the stake for heretics. This is not a time and period in that we should ever romanticize.
But I think there's some sick bastards. Not that I'm okay with it, but I can see why you would want to maybe just shoot a robot with a gun. But the idea of getting up and close and personal with a broadsword and sticking it through somebody, to me, seems a bit darker and a bit more troubling.
I just don't understand how they are programmed the robots to stop short of killing people. There's no sensor on a broadsword that's going to stop it from stabbing me in the heart and killing me. So listen, I don't buy this whole thing. The only thing that I bought was Creeper Dude trying to rape the little 14-year-old robot girl.
Oh, that was a bit twisted where he tries to go after poor Daphne.
But I feel like that probably happened in the medieval.
Oh, it definitely happened.
Not only did it definitely happen, but it was also part of the script.
And the workers are upset when Daphne slaps him and refuses a guest seduction. He then officially names her as a sex bot.
I got really uncomfortable at that scene.
It was rapey. There was a real rapey vibe.
Yeah, anytime a movie goes rapey vibe, I'm not so much into it.
No, I don't think there's any way to really play off a rapey vibe and have it be anything but just wrong.
I think that there's definitely going to be some rapiness, dark undertones in the HBO series.
Oh, it has to, because that's clearly why he was there.
Yeah, he had no other intention other than to bang robots.
He pretends like he wanted to be a badass knight, but meanwhile, this dude was huffing and puffing, just trying to walk up the stairs to go see the queen. This was Jared from Subway, out trying just to have a reason to get away from his wife and to go prey upon young chambermaids and young squires. Oh, that's just putting a dark turn on this.
But what if some dude has a fantasy of like killing a child or shooting a child or decapitating a child robot?
Well, the scary thing is I think we are quickly on the path to find out the answer to all these questions.
Because the HBO series is about to launch on October 2nd?
No, because this is coming down the road real quick.
You think there's going to be like child robots?
I don't think it's that far off. I mean, you have Stephen Hawking saying that he believes that, you know, the human race could be done in by AI. You have now where machines can pass the Turing test. I guess they can actually fool humans. See, I think the show is going to go one of two ways. Either one, this is a naturally occurring phenomenon in AI, that they come to an awakening. Or it could be one of the technicians who's tired of seeing humans, you know, take advantage of his beloved machines, actually starts to manipulate them and actually start to awaken them.
I think
that would happen organically.
That would be an interesting. I think it would be an interesting take on things, because I think one of the most brilliant takes on artificial intelligence, at least from a movie perspective, was Ex Machina. That movie blew my mind. I think really goes into depths of what it would be like for someone to improve and constantly build upon his AI creations to the point to where they become aware.
Well, this is, you think you have two dogs. Those dogs are your family.
Right.
You would do almost anything for them.
Anything.
When we start having artificial pets and artificial family members, people are going to feel that same bond. And I think it will be hard for people to start to distinguish. The line gets blurred. This movie, in the end, missed that opportunity to give us something to think about, to give us one final thought. And, you know, we progress through the entire chase scene that inevitably ends with the gunslinger being burned, melted, and finally, being finished, to where Peter finds the woman tied up in the dungeon.
Right.
Did you think this was a human being, or did you immediately think this was a robot?
I smelled out the twist right away. So the twist is the audience is supposed to believe that it's a human. That was my take on it. We're supposed to believe this is a human. He goes and rescues her, and the twist is after he gives her water that she's actually a robot.
But that's such a half-assed twist.
I agree. I don't think it was executed the right way, because I think we're supposed to see more of that character somewhere throughout the movie. We're supposed to believe that her awakening is deeper. She is, I think, going to be one of the main protagonists in the new HBO series, where she realizes that her life has been nothing but a pre-programmed existence.
Yeah, and then in that case, can you fault them just like an ex machina? Can you, if you are that clone, if you are that robot and you become aware and you want to protect your own life, can you blame them for defending themselves?
No, I can't blame them at all for defending themselves. But my biggest problem I have with this movie is that they did not put any kind of motivation behind their desire.
My ending that I think would have been fantastic is we're led to believe that Peter rescues this woman from the dungeon. They walk off into the sunset. You know, he's manned up. He's now got a girl. And we see her look back with those eyes.
Yes.
And we realize that she is one of the robots, and she's now out in the wild going back to civilization that's not prepared for her.
I think that would have been a much better scene. With 100%.
But somehow we just get a half-ass cop-out at the end.
Right.
Instead of giving us something to leave the theater. I think it would have been much scarier if we had seen Yul Brynner, the gunslinger, show us that he wasn't just a mindless machine. To show us that and let Peter know, I'm coming after you because this is personal.
Right.
This isn't my job. This isn't an error. This isn't something, a malfunction. I'm coming after you because of what you've done. We know that this was a disappointment. What are your hopes for the HBO series? Where do you think it's going to go, and what do you hope to see?
You know, what I'm hoping for is a much darker approach. So in the HBO series, you can definitely tell that they are throwing the HBO culture behind these type of shows. They're taking a movie that had a great premise but just poorly executed, and they're revamping it in today's dark, gritty sci-fi world.
I hope they push it. Like the questions we asked today about, you know, and they're focusing on sin and desire. I want them to push it. I want them to push what's accepted sexually, what's accepted violently, what's accepted in society. I want them to really push it. I remember how people were kind of shocked with Prince Oberyn. When the opening scene that we see him, he's in a brothel with women and men. Push what's our expectation of a hero. I want us to see no, white and black. I want shades of gray, much like Game of Thrones. I want to see good people doing somewhat morally questionable things and ask the question in the future, what will be accepted? What will be perverted? What will be entertainment? And I think these are all questions that can make it a great show, because you have to do something that will make it extend beyond 10 episodes. It can't be just about an amusement park that goes wild.
Yeah, I would definitely like to see some. So what you're saying is you want to see some societal plot points and have people really think about themselves in this show. I'm really totally looking for it. If you have not seen any of the trailers for Westworld, stop what you're doing and go watch it. Then watch this movie. Then go back and watch the trailer, because you'll get much more context of what they're trying to accomplish. They're reintroducing the same character archetypes. So I think there's going to be elements of this story that are going to be introduced. So I think it's going to have similar plot lines, but it's definitely going to be more developed over. I mean, there's so much more that you can do in hour-long, in a 10-episode season, which, each episode is 60 minutes long. So I think in a future podcast, I think our next podcast, what we should do is really dive into the characters, who are the actors playing them, and compare them to the 1973 film and what we expect out of them.
I think that's a good plan.
So, for those who are joining us for the first time, Big D, how can they find us if they want to subscribe and be part of our podcast family?
Well, like the Raj has said, if you have found us from Shat the Movies, you know that we cover 80s and 90s classic movies and kind of look back and see if they're as good as we remember. And you can find us at shatthemovies.com. If you're finding us for the first time for our coverage of the Westworld television show, it's shatontv.com. On both sites, you'll be able to find us. We're on all social media. We encourage you to email us at hosts@shatthemovies.com or hosts@shatontv. This won't be any fun without you guys getting engaged. The movie side of it, we get a lot of people who vote for movies, give us feedback. With this, it won't be worth doing without you. So please engage, find us, let us know what you think. And if you enjoy it, share it with your friends. You got anything else?
So our plan is to watch the show every Sunday, record the podcast 5 p.m. Eastern on Mondays, and release by Tuesdays. So get in your feedback on Monday, and there's a good chance it will be read on the pod.
All right. I think that's us. That's enough to finish up for today.
Yep. Thanks for listening.